Guys, welcome to the podcast. This is going to be a fun episode with my friend Brendan Burns over at KUIU. Before we get to the podcast, guys, I want to thank the following sponsors. I want to thank GoHunt.com, the gear shop, my friend Cody Nelson of 20 plus years. He's over there selling optics. He's the optics manager. If you guys have any optical needs at all, whether it be binos, spotting scopes, rifle scopes, tripods, anything to do with glassing, give Cody a call, 702-847-8747. That's extension 2. You can also send him an email at optics@gohunt.com. Cody's been treating a lot of the J. Scott Outdoors podcast listeners very good over the last couple of months and the last couple of years. I want to thank Go Hunt for their sponsorship. I also want to remind you guys that the Go Hunt Insider is going to be releasing their Arizona draw odds here this week. If you're not already a Go Hunt Insider member, go to gohunt.com/JScott. You're going to get a $50 Go Hunt Gear Shop gift card just for signing up. I also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. You're going to hear from Brendan Burns of KUIU. Go to KUIU.com, that's KUIU.com, to find out more information about the best ultralight hunting gear on the market. I also want to thank PhoneScope. Use the JScott19, it's 2020 now, JScott20 promo code. By the way, the JScott19 still works. But use the JScott20 promo code. You're going to save 10% there at phonescope.com. Also want to thank onxmaps.com. It's been a full year now. OnX is still a sponsor of the podcast, and I appreciate their support. Go to onxmaps.com, use the JScott20 promo code, and you're going to get a 20% discount there. onxmaps.com. Guys, let's get right to this episode with Brendan Burns.
Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we're going to have some fun with Brendan Burns of KUIU. Brendan, how you doing?
Doing well, Jay. How are you?
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to having you on. We've got a bunch of Instagram follower and podcast listener questions here for KUIU, and I figured I'd get you on here and we bang through a bunch of them. Before we do that, you have actually, it's been a while since we've talked on the podcast.
Yeah, been a busy fall.
Yeah. Last time, I think you were preparing to go on your Dall sheep hunts. I believe you had one in the Northwest Territories and one in Alaska. How did they go?
Oh, it was a great summer. Yeah, I hunted with my bow and the NWT at Canola Outfitters, and it was it's been a long time coming. I've probably my kind of nemesis has been a Dall sheep with a bow, and I was finally able to arrow a really nice ram. Had an awesome hunt up there with Glinda and my buddy Johnny Nyker came and guided me, and it was just a phenomenal hunt. Can't say enough about it. And successful, and one of those deals where I've been after a doe with my bow for I think a little over 50 days of hunting, which is that's a lot of opportunity. And finally made it happen. Finally caught a really nice ram in a good spot and was able to arrow him, which was just one of those things that you check off that I've been pushing for a long time, so I was pretty excited about that. And then had a really cool trip. Don't normally get to do 2 back-to-back Dall sheep hunts, but just kind of the way the timing worked out. Hunted in Alaska at Ultima Thule in the Wrangles, which was just one of those places I've always wanted to go. The history of Dall sheep hunting kind of starts in the Wrangles in that country, and it was just awesome to see. And we had a phenomenal trip. It was one of the harder hunts I've ever done. We definitely covered some massive country, but Jason Whitman, our supply chain manager and VP of supply chain at KUIU, came with me, and it was an awesome trip. Jason killed a 169-inch Dall sheep, which is just an absolute whopper. And then I shot the smallest 14.5-inch base 166-inch Dall on the trip. So we killed 2 huge rams. Had a great hunt. Just got to see some really iconic country that I've read about and heard about, and when you look through the record books and see where some of the biggest sheep in history have come from, it was just really cool to get in that country. Jay Stanford guided us. Just an awesome dude, and we had a lot of fun. So it was a really good fall.
Brendan, when you talk about the first hunt and Dall sheep, archery hunting Dall sheep, and having 50 days, someone that shoots as well as you do can get around as well as you do. how much of archery Dall sheep hunting is just having a ram, like you said, in the right place at the right time? I mean, I know that's like all hunting, but, from an archery standpoint, how important is it to just be able to have that ram in the right spot?
It's really important. I mean, you kind of, there's some of that stuff Dall sheep hunting where you just can't make it happen, and I've definitely screwed up on a couple since. I missed a huge ram in 2012, which will probably haunt me for the rest of my life. And that was really the only time I've had a shot opportunity at a Dall sheep since 2012. And on this trip, we found a really nice ram right away and made a couple different plays on him, and I almost killed him twice. And just zigged when he should have zagged. One time they were coming up the mountain, and I was Johnny and I both, we basically looked at each other like, are they going to come this side or that side? And it was like, I think both of us deep down knew they were going to go on the other side of this notch, but it kind of looked like they were heading our way, and the logical place would have been the other side, and we just picked the wrong one and came by us at too far and ended up not getting them. So a lot of it's just getting in the right spot. The ram I ended up killing was in a really difficult spot, and we just waited him out, and eventually he fed down and disappeared, and I went after him by myself. It was on some, in a big rock face. It wasn't even that great a country to stalk a sheep. In fact, it was a terrible place to stalk a sheep, but there happened to be a big lip there, and there was a couple trees growing out of it, and he was just down there picking some leaves off of these trees, and I was able to slip in on him in kind of a pounding rain and shot him at 40 and 50. I ended up shooting him twice, and just right place at the right time, and same with me, being in the right place at the right time. I've, been in a lot of Dall sheep country, and, a lot of it just doesn't work out. I mean, there's my first Dall sheep hunt in 2008. I packed my bow for 11 days before I shot one with a rifle, and I never even got to strap my release on. So, it just never had a stock opportunity. And a lot of times when you're bow hunting, it doesn't matter what you do. If they're especially with sheep or goats, if they're in a place you can't get them, there's really nothing you can do about it. It's not like you can go, push them around or, they're just, you can't get to them. So, it was awesome to finally catch one in the right spot, and you just keep doing it enough, and eventually it works your way.
Brendan, you kind of identify as primarily a bow hunter. I mean, certainly you will rifle hunt, and you do rifle hunt, but correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you pretty much, you think like a bow hunter, you are a bow hunter, and, most animals you hunt with a bow. Is Dall sheep or sheep in general one of those that year in and year out when you're doing these hunts, you just decide that, hey, I'm going to do most of these with a rifle? Or how do those come your way, and what's kind of your thought process? Whereas some bow hunters, kind of let me further this question, whereas some bow hunters, they're like, I only hunt with a bow, but they're not very successful, to be honest with you. They don't shoot a lot of things. You shoot a lot of things, both with your bow and with the gun. But I'm just wondering where the mental aspect of, no, I'm definitely bringing a rifle on this. Where does that play in?
For me, it's played in basically on opportunity as a part of it. The NWT hunt, I was not going to bring a gun. I mean, we had a gun actually as protection for bears because there's a lot of bears around. But I told Johnny, like, at no point in time is that even an option. Like, it's not even an option. We're either killing with a bow, or I'm going home without one, and I'm comfortable eating my tag. And I think that's part of the way to get to it. Some of the thing for the rifle hunt for me is, where we went at Ultimate Thule and the Wrangles, it's just not bow hunter country at all, and it's just big, nasty, massive glacier. It was just massive, huge country that it's, you could bring a bow, but you're like, again, I'm looking for a great big ram as well. Alaska has a 1 in 4 law now. You can only kill a ram every 4 years. So I was prepared to leave that hunt without a sheep too, unless it was a giant. It's by far my biggest Dall sheep, 166 and 6/8 or something like that. It's a 41.5-inch ram. I was looking for a giant ram. Now, if you took a bow on that hunt, you're probably not even going to get a stock. It's just not the kind of country where, and if you do see, you're kind of going to have to stalk anything that you get a chance at. For me, on that one, I was hunting for a giant, and wherever a giant took us, and where I shot it cross canyon at 400 yards and couldn't have got 1 millimeter closer. So that's an opportunity I would have never had. So it just depends on. Some bow hunters eliminate themselves from hunting some of the hunts based on opportunity that it's just not practical. I mean, for example, the last elk I shot with a rifle in Wyoming was in 2013, and I got that late season tag. Now I could have taken my bow and went and walked around in crunchy snow and scared everything under the sun, or I didn't. I picked up a rifle and we went and killed a giant bull using everything we had to get it done, and it was as challenging as any hunt you could be on. Now you could take a bow, but it's not that practical, and a lot of times with sheep it's the same way. Like, I don't want to eliminate myself from hunting some of these places that are extremely difficult to get to, or especially looking for great big sheep. I mean, I'm not as picky with a bow. That's just a fact. The Dall sheep that I killed this fall is a beautiful ram, the one I killed with a bow. But that's not a ram I probably would have shot with a rifle. But I'm trying to get a grand slam with a bow, and so it just depends. Like when it comes to, and it depends on your threshold for pressure as well. Like stone sheep, they're expensive. There's just no two ways about it. I always tell guys that call me about, I had already taken a stone sheep with a rifle when I went and hunted stone sheep with a bow, and I just said, I'm either going to leave without one or I'm going to get one. I believe you have to do that a lot of times in archery hunting, and I got lucky and got one. But it just depends on where you're at, and it depends on the opportunity, it depends on the area. And like I said, I don't want to eliminate a really awesome hunt just because it's not practical to take a bow. And I enjoy rifle hunting as well, so it's just let's look at each one individually. But I primarily call myself, I prefer to bow hunt. I guess is the best way to say it.
For sure. Awesome. All right. I know we'll get into a bunch of different stuff too with these questions, so I might as well just dive into the questions. Sure. And get started here. So need pants in long sizes, 36-inch inseam.
Well, you're in luck now. We now make attack pants in 37 and 31, and those can be unhemmed 33 and 39, I believe, and that's new on the site in attack pants. So we do have, I believe they're the longest pants that anybody offers, so they're available.
Brendan, with that being said, there's been a call for 36-inch or longer inseam for a long time. It seems like you guys offering them in the attack pant. I know a subsequent question that would follow would be, will they ever hit any of the other pants? Will it be a judgment call and see how the attacks go and see how many orders go with, the 36 or longer? Is that kind of the thought that KUIU has, in making those longer inseams?
Yeah, I think it's going to believe on how many would, what the, how many people want them. And, what the demand is. If there's a super high demand, I don't know that we have any other plans for anything else right now. But yeah, it's going to depend on the demand.
Okay. Let's see, question here. I have the 7200 Pro Pack. Because it sways, it creaks. Any good way to get that to stop?
Yeah, the best way is to clean it. Basically the packs are three things. There's the suspension, the frame, and the bag. And every year, one of the cool things about the Pro system, or depending on if you have the Ultra or whatever it is, you just take it all apart, fully pull everything apart and wash everything. I do it pretty much after every hunt. And if you're getting a squeaking, it's dust for sure. I mean, we have Nevada, Utah guys that drive around on four-wheelers a lot and get that just crazy amount of dust in there. That's where the squeak comes from, and it just needs to be cleaned. That would be my best advice. Okay.
Anything we can do to make the Super Down Pro jacket less noisy?
Get a Kenai Ultra. We make the Kenai. It's active insulation and it's very quiet. The Super Down Pro, it's designed to be the lightest, most packable, standalone insulation piece. The down requires a liner under the fabric to keep it from migrating through, which makes the jacket more noisy. But I would say if sound is your biggest thing, I would go with the Kenai.
Yeah, for sure, and I'd second that. Is the Kutana Storm Shell pant durable enough to be worn a lot or only when it rains, mostly Arizona hunting?
I would say if you're in Arizona, I mean, you guys specialize in all this stuff with thorns and stuff on it. I would say it's definitely the most durable rain gear. Being a rain pant with a membrane built in, I recommend keeping it from getting punctures. If you was saying, is it like for brush busting and stuff, I would say there's no rain gear built like that. It is very durable, and I've worn it as a primary pant quite a bit now, especially on sheep hunts. But if you're busting, if you're around stuff that's going to poke holes in it, I mean, obviously that makes it so it's not waterproof. So I would say it can be. It would just depend on what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of, being an Arizona guy myself, I mean, the Arizona guys got to understand that we have some of the brush that, nowhere else in the country has. And the reality is it doesn't rain very often down here as it is. And if you're planning on brush busting, like you said, any membrane that gets punctured has the, chance and potential of leaking. And so, there's other pants that I would look at that I would wear for brush busting, but I've found the Kutana Storm Shell pant to be unbelievably durable. It's kind of my go-to that I'm carrying on most all of my hunts. Really like the Kutana pants and jacket. And, you still have that real lightweight, but you've got that little edge of extra durability, say, compared to the Chugach. So really, really like that Kutana Storm Shell for sure. Kenai Ultra or New Elements jacket for keeping warm while glassing in Arizona?
For keeping warm while glassing, I'd say the Super Down Pro for that application if I was going to pick one that we make. I actually don't have an Elements jacket. I didn't get one. They sold out so fast. So I know about the technology, but I have not used that. I pretty much use everything, but there is sometimes other people have tested stuff that and I don't have a lot of experience with the Elements. So, but between the Kenai Ultra or the Elements, if you're talking about glassing and staying warm, I'd say the Super Down Pro is my go-to for just a long glassing session. It's the warmest.
Yeah, and Brendan, to further that, I mean, people need to understand, like the Kenai Ultra, I mean, it's the perfect jacket for spot and stock. It's the perfect jacket for wearing as you're hiking up a ridge line and glassing off both sides when you're moving. He's talking about keeping warm while glassing. I mean, I can't agree with you more in the fact that, when you're sitting and doing those long, 3, 4, 5 hour sits, especially on some of the cold mornings in Arizona, the Super Down Pro is by far what I would lean to the most, because that's the jacket you want to wear when it's, you're stationary. That's not the jacket that you want to, the Super Down Pro is not the jacket that you want to wear when you're really hiking a lot and exerting a lot of energy, because it's not going to breathe well. The Kenai Ultra, it's a synthetic jacket. That's the one you want that you're going to be wearing when you're moving a lot and popping off ridges and looking down off points and stuff. What's the best way to repair down pants in the field?
So the best way to repair, whether it's Super Down Pro, basically anything we have in the field would be either tenacious tape, or you can call up the customer service, and we actually have a repair patch that they'll send you. It's 3.5 by 3.5. It works phenomenal, and it can be basically used on any piece of apparel that we make. So that's a new option that just came out. But tenacious tape also works great.
Yeah, and tenacious tape is often known as people carrying it to patch or repair their tents. I would add that the thing about the down pants, if you do puncture them, you don't want the down to come out, because as soon as you lose the down, obviously it's gone forever. So the best thing, you definitely want to get that covered up. And tenacious tape always is in my pack anyway. That's a perfect thing. And this new repair kit sounds like something just to have, because you don't want that down. It's you paid for it. It's expensive. Good quality Polish down. You want to make sure that you don't have it blowing all over the hillside.
Unless you need to know which way the wind's going, and then every now and then slipping out works.
There you go. Best pant. Let's see. Best pant and jacket combo for hunting in northern Old Mexico.
I'm going to defer to you on that one. I guess it would depend on the weather. It would depend on your exertion. It would depend on a lot of different things. But in the summertime, I'd say Tiburon and 125 Merino, but I'm guessing he's probably asking later in the season, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't
Katana.
specify here.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say as an overall, Brendan, I've been very happy with the Kutana pants down here. I wore it all, the Kutana pants on both desert sheep hunts that I did down here, and it did really well in the brush. Very durable, but yet lightweight. And I think the Kutana is the perfect pant for, some of those early season Coues deer hunts, even bow hunts, the Kutana pant. I just think that's a great way to go. And I think, again, talking about the Tiburon's phenomenal because it probably breathes better than any material that you guys have out there in pant. I mean, I wear either Tiburon pants or Tiburon shorts every day. Those are my everyday, around town, to the office, whatever. I either wear Tiburon shorts or Tiburon pants, and they are phenomenal. But best pant and jacket combo, as far as jacket, I think, we've already talked about the Kenai Ultra, for the active wear, for moving around. And then, you've got the Ultra down. That would be for when it's not as cold and, sitting and glassing and doing some of that. But then the Super Down Pro jacket, I think is one that you want when you've got those really cold mornings because it's not that much heavier and you get basically twice the insulation. The other one that I might point out would be maybe the Kutana jacket, or potentially maybe the the guide jacket too as well. Those are those aren't insulation pieces, but they're definitely good pieces just to keep you keep that little bit of cold off of you that you might get down in northern Sonora, Mexico. Question here, why so expensive? You can't tell me it costs that much to make one. I don't know exactly what make one means, but why so expensive, Brendan?
Well, I can tell you it does cost that much. I can tell you for a fact. We use the best fabrics and technology. We build in the best factories. We have the highest quality zippers and hardware. For example, like our down is by far the best performing independently treated down in the industry. I mean, it's not even close. So I have to say, feature for feature, we offer more than anyone else, and with our consumer direct model, we price it extremely fair. So I can say, yeah.
One of the things people have to understand is when you get into technical gear, Brendan, a lot of guys that aren't used to technical gear and maybe they don't hunt in hunts that require technical gear. And I got to be honest, a lot of the Arizona guys and some of the guys in the Southwest that don't see those extremely wet and extremely cold conditions, it's sometimes okay to get away with, a Carhartt pant and a cotton shirt. But would you agree that the technical fabrics and the technology that KUIU has, you really see that shine when it comes to cold, wet, and miserable, up there with Lance or, up north. And I mean, even hunts around here, as soon as you add wet and cold, that's when these fabrics shine. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would say it's hard to, where we're at is, when you talk about comparable in price versus comparable in performance, I feel like KUIU is anything that's comparable in price doesn't stack up with performance, and anything that's comparable in performance is a heck of a lot more expensive. Almost piece for piece, whether it's in the hunting industry or it's in the mountaineering industry or anything else. I mean, that's the greatest thing about our consumer direct. We build it and we sell it directly to you. There's no middleman. And I agree with everything you said there. I mean, at the end of the day, you can tell the difference in performance when you really need it.
Got a question here. How can you get gear that is lighter than First Light and Sitka, but more durable?
Like our catchphrase always is, really through relentless innovation. I mean, we set a goal. I mean, for example, with Katana, we're using the newest technology gained through a mechanical stretch in our fabric. We eliminated the use of elastics for performance, and as a byproduct, it also made it more durable. We just look at everything and solving the problem with the best fabrics and the best designs. As far as piece for piece, I don't know what they're referring to, but it's it's just a different model and a different way that we go about it.
Can you make a lightweight glove without the finger foam material?
We definitely could. I think that's pretty much standard in gloves anymore, and I believe if we did switch that out, we'd get far more questions saying, "Why don't you make a glove that I can use my phone on?" So
we've got
I'll
a
pass
statement.
That on, but I don't know.
We've got a statement here. Thanks, Jay and Brendan, for doing this. You're welcome.
Thanks for the question.
Let's see. Yeah. What was your favorite hunt this year, Brendan?
It's impossible to pick favorite hunts. I mean, killing a Dall sheep with my bow was a huge goal checked off the list, and it was an awesome hunt. And, I've been planning it for a long time. The Alaska Dall sheep hunt was incredible. Watching, having your buddy shoot his first ram and the biggest thin horn you've ever put your hands on. That was pretty awesome. And then had a couple. I arrowed a really nice whitetail with my son with me out of a ground blind, which was awesome. My wife killed a big buck this fall with me and Lucas with her. Like they're all great. They all have things that are the most memorable. I mean they're all great. It's hard to pick.
Yeah, and I think if you're anything like me, I mean, you end up going on enough hunts, it's almost like they all kind of start to blend together, and it's hard to be like, this is the most favorite hunt I've ever done. I can't say that I could answer that question, very well myself as far as picking one particular one. I think, too, as you mature as a hunter, you just enjoy it all. You enjoy everything about it. Sometimes even when it sucks and there's it's tough and you're grinding and, some of those things are some of the parts of the hunts that you remember the most. But I'm kind of with you. It's kind of hard to pick a favorite.
It depends on who you're with, too. Anymore, my favorite hunts, like I pretty much only hunt with people that I really enjoy hunting with. So I think they're all really memorable because it depends on who's with you. And, I had a really cool hunt this fall. I was able to take Donald Trump Jr. out and kill a really nice whitetail and a cow elk, and that was cool. Like they're all really cool. So I think it depends on the people that you're with, and a lot of it now is country too. Like I have a lot of places I just really want to see, and to go see new country that you haven't seen before, or you've heard about or read about, and they're all. I try not to go on any bad hunts, so that kind of eliminates all those.
Yeah. All right. What is the most durable outerwear in the KUIU line? Is there a brush-busting jacket?
I would say the katana stuff would fall into what we would overall call the most durable, and as a brush-busting jacket, I don't know, maybe the katana soft shell. I mean, they're just pretty darn durable.
Yeah, I would second that. That katana soft shell is awesome. How's the ultralight tripod coming along?
Still coming along. It's going to be exciting when it's done. Still working on some stuff, making it perfect. It's one of those development things that's taken a long time, and just kind of run into a few things that weren't ideal and trying to solve the problem on them. And we've got some really good feedback. Put some pretty good use on it. So it'll be. I can't say when it'll be done, but it's going to be a neat thing when it's done.
This question says, are they that good? I don't even know what are they that good, what they're referring to.
They must be talking about you, Jay. Yeah.
Yes, the rumor is true. Next question. Any chance we could get 2 straps on the carbon frame to secure meat right to the frame?
We build a load hauler that spreads the meat all the way across the frame, so I would say in certain times that may work, but at the end of the day, you'd be better off buying a load hauler.
Any plans to make the Elements jacket in more earth-type colors or bias or Verdi 2.0?
Not at this time. The Elements jacket, that fiberball technology, which is a really cool technology that we're going to be doing some more stuff with, but we can't print that in camo because the fabric has baffles sewn into it. So it'll be solid only right now.
Wondering if Talus Pant will ever have knee pads, and can you offer removable knee pads?
So the Talus pant does have knee pads. It's got a waterproof seat and leg from the mid-thigh down and the back. And I feel like we have the best knee pad in the industry, period. That Ultra Suede I don't think anybody has one that's even remotely close. As far as removable knee pads, we've messed around with that. I've tried everybody else's. I don't think that's a great option. They're kind of sloppy, and I can't see that a removable knee pad will be something that we're going to be working with.
What stove fits with the Summit stove jack? Also, what is the weight of the full kit?
Ooh, that's going to be off the top of my head. So I think any stove with a 2.5-inch pipe will work in the Summit, and it doesn't take a lot of stove to heat that tent. It's pretty impressive when it's working. And then the full kit with the inner tent, there's obviously a couple different ways you can do it. I would assume he's talking full kit with the inner tent. I think it's around 3 pounds. Yeah.
Brendan, on that, another question that just comes to mind when we've got the it's talking about the Summit stove jack. When it comes to tents, are you primarily always using a tent with a floor?
I pretty much use a tent with a floor. Now, we did use one of these this fall that was set up as like a cook shack, cook tent, just kind of hangouts in the middle of camp. We had one extra on the grizzly bear hunt this spring just because you can get bad weather. It was nice. It's very roomy, and I haven't been a huge shelter guy, and so it was kind of the first time that I've used it. I used it a few times this summer. So a lot of the times when you're using something like that, for me, there's bugs around. So for me, the inner tent, nothing is worse than trying to sleep when you got bugs on you. So whether it's mosquitoes or black flies or whatever, like most of the time when I'm doing that, it's in Alaska or up north. And so, yeah, I've used the inner tent mostly myself. But like Alan Bullen, he uses a straight shelter, sleeps on the ground all the time, loves it. He'd be a great one to ask too. Like I guess it just depends on your style.
Primary applications for Versa jacket.
It's really kind of a lifestyle piece. I really like it. I'm actually wearing one today. It's just a synthetic insulation jacket. And, it's kind of a lifestyle piece. It's probably what I've been primarily wearing the most lately.
It's a jacket that, you say lifestyle piece. I mean, you could see yourself wearing it out in the field, but more just around town, and that's what it's designed for?
Yeah.
Okay, any plans for a Nalgene water bottle holder for the hip belt?
That's a good idea, and I will definitely pass it on and mess around with it a little bit, but plans as far as like a release, no, not as of right now, but it's definitely, I feel your pain reaching back all the way to the pack and to get your Nalgene out. I've dang near torn my shoulder out several times doing that, so I get it.
Oh, I love this one. Make a turkey vest, KUIU, please.
We'll have to get Jay to develop one.
Dr. Turkey to make it?
Yep.
It could be pretty cool. Let's see. Is the Axis jacket...
Did you fit one of those gold turkeys in a turkey vest? Well, this thing's about 50 pounds.
Oh, my gosh. They're so big. They don't actually weigh that much, but they are unbelievably big. But, it'd be cool.
Could you get one in a vest? You can?
Oh, yeah.
They are huge. It's amazing they can fly.
They are huge, and they are, they are huge, and for sure we should try that. Okay, is the Axis jacket warmer than the Guide?
Yeah, so strategically it's got a membrane laminated in it, so it's waterproof and windproof in places where basically the best way to think about it is where snow or rain would fall on you, top of your shoulders or back. So yes, it would be I would definitely say it's warmer than the Guide jacket, if that's the question.
Yeah, very similar pieces though to have on and feel, other than the fact that the Axis jacket, wouldn't you say, like underarms and stuff, it gives you area where you need to breathe, but then on the tops of your shoulders, tops of arms, you've got that waterproof element to it, different fabric, just so people understand it. Brendan, whereas the guide jackets,
it's a soft shell jacket still.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, would you also agree that you could do quite a bit of hunting in the Axis jacket, even in inclement weather with, spit and snow, spit and rain, and still stay pretty dry? Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, it's a great soft shell, and it just adds a little more protection with, a lot of places I have just so much wind that anytime I can add, something that's windproof, I do.
Yeah. All right. What do you wear in late season elk hunts when it's snowy?
Good question. Lately, I actually been late season sheep hunting quite a bit lately. I'm really loving the Axis pant and jacket, and a lot of times I'll wear, if I'm not wearing that, I'll wear the Kenai. I think the last really cold weather hunt I just did about a week and a half ago, I wore, Axis pant, 97 Peloton long underwear. I was wearing 125 merino base layer, a 260 hybrid hoodie, and a Kenai. And sometimes I'll throw in the Axis, but any of this stuff. It depends on, like any of this stuff, it depends on your activity level, what the actual temperature is. I've always got my Super Down Pro jacket and pant late season in my pack, so if those don't keep me warm enough, or you're sitting glassing over a long period of time, then throw those on.
And I mean, Brendan, don't you think also it depends on how hot or cold you run? Some guys run really hot, some guys run really cold, and so it's a little bit hard to kind of, without knowing how someone runs. Yeah,
everybody wants to put everything towards temperature, and at the end of the day, it's exertion level, it's the climate you're in, it's the weather conditions, it's temperature, there's a lot of different factors. That's the beauty of a layering system, is that you can decide based on all those factors what is going to keep you the most comfortable.
Any chance of getting 33-inch waist size?
No, we make 32 and 34. I don't see us going to even or to every size. I mean, if you're, I guess I lean more towards a 33 and wear a 32, so I can feel their pain. But late season I wear a 34 if I'm wearing a lot of stuff under. Early season I wear a 32. But as far as building a 33, I'll lobby for that too. But I think we're going to lose.
Best layers for late September elk.
That would depend on, again, that's going to depend on what you're doing. It's going to depend on the temperature. Like late season in Montana, we had about 5 inches of snow this fall, and in September, and then some years it'll be 95 degrees. So I'll be wearing, I would say if it's hot, Tiburon and really in the hot weather, I really like the 145 merino hoodie this year. Like I wore that thing at Pile, and
that's my favorite base layer.
With the hoodie, the new one.
Yes, the hoodie is mandatory for me because I'm so sensitive to the sun, and I like the fact that if like late or early morning or when the sun's going down and you need just a little bit of wind coverage or something, just to cover up when you're glassing or something. I love that 145 hoodie.
Yeah, and if it's colder, and again, it depends on how cold you're talking, but katana pants, and this fall I wore like a 125 base layer and the new Pro Merino, or just Pro Merino by itself, and that was great. And again, the layering system allows you to customize your system based on exertion, temperature, climate, whatever it is, to keep yourself totally regulated.
Brendan, back to that question several back where he was talking about late season when it's snowy. And we talked about several different things. Do you still lean towards your rain gear as kind of your outer shell, your hard shell, if you will? Because I know some people, they don't run a hard shell at all. And then some people, run these mid layers as like their outer jacket. I'm just curious if, like, when it comes down to it and it's going to be snowing, are you planning on your final layer being, your Kutana pant or your Kutana jacket, as far as rain jacket, and that's running as your outer shell to protect against snow and such?
It kind of just depends. A lot of it depends on the temperature as well. Like if there's going to be wet, like a lot of times in deep snow and it's really pounding, but it's going to get up, in the 30s or 40s during the day, and you're going to be dealing with some wet, then yeah, or depending on, if it's tons of wind, nothing beats the wind like a hard shell. So it just depends. I mean, there's a lot of times if you're just, you're going to be hiking, it's just really cold. It's, pretty static. There's nothing moving around. Like, just have a straight, whether it's the axis and my super down. It just depends. But I mean, a hard shell, I pretty much have a hard shell rain gear with me at all times. Whether I use it or not is one thing, but especially on the pants, like in late season, maybe sometimes I wouldn't use the jacket, but, a hard shell rain pant in the late season when it's, a lot of temperature fluctuation and water and you're hiking a lot and you don't really need a primary pant, or, I'll definitely do that. I don't know if that answers the question or not.
Are you still releasing this year's Mountain Academy online?
I don't know. I assume so. I will. That's a good question. I haven't thought about that since the last time. I will get down. I'll find out.
Okay. Also, the podcast listeners always ask if I'm going to release that audio. So, thoughts on making a sidearm holster for a pack suspension or as a bino harness attachment?
Thought of us making a holster?
Yeah, thoughts on making a sidearm holster for a pack suspension or as a bino harness attachment?
No, I can't say we've looked into that. There's a lot of those available out there, and they're specific to whether it's a handgun or I can't see we're working on that. We do have places to attach them, obviously. If you especially on the new suspension, we built it into where it's got a great place to put a sidearm. But as far as us building a sidearm holster, I don't see us getting into
that. Doing Arctic Red River. I assume he's talking about Arctic Red River Outfitters Dull Sheep in July. Can we get gear list from Knoll last summer?
Sure. Yeah, just shoot me an email. Shoot me an email or Jay an email for BrendanB@KUIU.com, and I'll get you my gear list. I was super happy with it and perfect for what you're doing.
First light user looking to possibly switch. Push me over the edge.
Oh, like we talked about early, better. And I'm not super familiar with all their product, but and it's not really about that. I would just say better technology, better designs. You can look at a couple things that we build, like the full zip long underwear. It's just one of those products where I don't know how you'd hunt without it. So really, just if you compare things head to head, again, if you're comparing price, you're going to be very impressed with what we do. If you're comparing performance, you're going to be more impressed.
Super Down Ultra versus Pro, which is best for what temperature ranges generally?
So I wouldn't say, again, we're talking temperature range. I don't know. It depends on how you run, but I would say one is the most packable, lightest insulation you can take versus kind of a standalone, the most warmth you can pack. So I personally run pretty cold, and when I really need some extra warmth, it's worth it for me to pack the extra weight. I pretty much carry the Super Down Pro, I would say 99% of the time. I do have Ultra, but I can't recall using it this year, especially if you think you could get some bad weather or unsupported hunt where you get soaked. And like I said, for me, the Super Down Pro, it's worth a little bit extra weight to carry it. But if you're an ounce counter and the lightest, most packable thing is what you're after. That's why we built the Super Down Ultra, and it's phenomenal.
Yep. When is the Pro Merino coming out?
It came out. It sold out in a limited release, and we have more coming very soon.
Well, before we get to the next question, Pro Merino, tell people what Pro Merino is compared to Ultra Merino.
So, Pro Merino is the best way to describe it is it's a mid-layer base layer that's the perfect hydrophilic and hydrophobic combination. So it's a 17.5 micron. So first thing it is that we've had a few questions of it's not a blend. Like definitely not a blend. It's a double-sided or two-layered knit. So it's a 17.5 micron New Yarn Merino next to skin with a high-performance poly eyelet that enhances breathability and increases the dry time, basically from your skin perspiration all the way to evaporation. It is awesome product. I used it on every hunt I did this fall. It's by far my favorite thing that we've built as far as a mid-layer, a little more substantial, and especially if you're looking for one thing that can kind of do it all. It's designed to just enhance the natural antimicrobial of merino and the moisture management properties of a really good poly. So it's an awesome product.
Next question, why don't they make sizes that actually fit? Their 3XL is like other companies' XL or 2XL.
We are working well, first of all, we run a mountaineering cut, so our stuff is a little more athletic cut, and we definitely hear that a bunch. We are working very hard. We have some new people on board that one of their main tasks is really to standardize our sizing. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to fit like everybody else's always, but it will definitely be more consistent as KUIU.
Got a question here. Hi guys, great year, but when can I, 6'6" guy, buy your pants in a longer inseam?
Right now. You got 37-inch inseam with the ability to run it out to 39. If you need longer than that, you're probably going to have to buy 2 pairs of pants and cut the legs off of one of them and sew them on the bottom of the other.
For Yao Ming out there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is the Kutana soft shell with 3D FX a good do-all jacket?
A good do-all jacket. I would say it's a hybrid fleece and insulation piece more. So I used it quite a bit this fall. It's a great mid-layer. I wouldn't say it was a do-all jacket. I would lean towards, for me, a jacket, I prefer to have a hood. It does not have a hood, I guess, if you don't want a hood. But I wouldn't call it a jacket. It's more of a hybrid mid-layer.
It is super comfortable, though. I love it. I mean, it's super comfortable.
And it's body map for high exertion. It's a really nice piece.
Any plans on a Kutana snap shirt or something similar?
I would say not at this time. It really wouldn't make sense. But yeah, not at this time that I know of.
Short of traveling to Dixon to try something on, will KUIU ever consider free return shipping?
That's a great question, and over I don't see that happening right now. But that's again just not a question I can really even answer. It's not something we've really addressed.
I would also maybe say make sure you get out to the shows where KUIU's at, and KUIU's going to be at a bunch of shows this year where you can try on a bunch of the different stuff, right, Brendan? Where if you've got to travel a little bit. I think they're even going back east as well to the Harrisburg show. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they are. So get out to those shows and come talk to it, come feel it. Go try it on and see what works best for you there. Warmest soft shell jacket.
Warmest soft shell. I'd definitely say the Axis. Is what I would call. If it's just a straight, what's the warmest one? It would be the Axis.
Could Yukon be used in place of soft shell for durability purposes?
For sure, yeah. I mean, and that's one of the ways, we designed the Yukon for high durability, and it's kind of a dual purpose. I mean, at some point in time between your insulation piece of the Yukon, especially if you're primarily wearing your rain gear a lot, you can basically substitute that for a soft shell plus it's waterproof. And I've done that on a few hunts. There's a lot of guides do that a lot. They wear, they have their insulation piece and the Yukon as their primary jacket, so you definitely can. Yeah.
Best pant for hunting in Arizona, New Mexico year round?
I would say probably, it obviously depends on time of year or whatever, but the Katana was built for you guys. You got everything that's freaking pokes you and, need a more durability and rocks that rip everything. And so Jay'd be a better one to answer that, but.
I definitely think for most all of the hunts, with the exception of, say, like maybe the late elk hunts or maybe even possibly a December coos deer hunt where it can get snowy, can get cold, the Katana pant is going to be the go-to for pretty much everything. And then, possibly then I would go to late elk hunting. I'd probably go to the Axis pant. Would probably be my next one where, you're going to encounter snow, you're going to encounter, being wet and cold. But, the Katana is definitely, if you guys out there in New Mexico and Arizona have not tried the Katana pant, you need to. Now, Brendan, I would say the Katana pant for me does always seem to come, I have to order the next size up. I'm curious if you have run into that on the Katana pant. Is that something that's going to run true? Do people need to order a size up? Is that going to stay the same, or is that going to be addressed as well?
Yeah, I've pretty much been the same size of everything. I wear a 32 like in a pant on that, so I haven't found that. But,
okay.
It depends on the time of year, too. not because of temperature, but because of personal sizing.
How many brownies I've been eating? And a lot of that too, Brendan, when any company hears of sizing issues, a lot of times too, that could be someone that's right at the upper end of a certain sizing spectrum. Wouldn't you say that, maybe a certain piece and certain, like you said, a certain time of year with, maybe in the off season when, you're not exerting yourself as much, it's going to feel a little more snug. But I think any company is going to run into guys that are, let's say right at the top of a 32 spectrum or 34 size spectrum that, get something and it's a little snug.
Yeah, and like I said, we are working very hard on, I can't say as far as sizing-wise how it's going to fit compared to everything else because that's not why we do it, but consistency is really something we are pushing and working very hard on. Just consistent fit.
Got a question here. Are they worth the money? I assume they're just saying, is KUIU worth the money? I
would say you can't afford not to. And yes, worth every penny.
I agree. Can you make the pants in a 36 or longer inching? Yes, guys, we've answered that one.
I'm going to check in the morning if we're not sold out of attacks. 37. No more. Yes, they're long now. We got it.
We answered this. Can you make the Elements jacket in camo?
Yeah, and again, it can't be printed in camo because of the baffle design required for that fiberball insulation. The fiberball is a pretty interesting technology in the fact that it is versus a synthetic insulation, it is actually a synthetic down plume. And there'll be some more stuff coming out about that. We're gonna tell a little bit of that technology story coming up, but it's a really cool thing. It's basically a synthetic imitation of a down plume, versus what normally is just synthetic insulation, which is what everybody else, like whether it's Primaloft or 3D. It's definitely a different technology, but it can be printed in camo as of right now.
What is the new Pro Merino? You covered that. What new products could you give us a sneak peek at?
I'm not going to be able to give you a sneak peek at anything, but there's some coming very shortly, so it won't be long. You won't have to wait long.
Man, just totally leaves us hanging here. Let's see. How is KUIU doing without Jason, Health of Company?
Company's doing great. We have an incredible company with amazing people. We just finished up the most successful year we've ever had, and I would just say we're driving forward with all the principles that Jason founded the company on, continuing to do everything that we've done since the beginning, and that is definitely the path forward. So yeah, everything is going very well.
I think too, Brendan, watching how KUIU's done after Jason's gone. I mean, I'm sure you wake up every day and you're thinking, okay, what would Jason, what would my buddy, my hunting partner, like? You just keep plowing and you just keep innovating and keep doing what you were doing when Jason was here, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, you just, like everything changed, but nothing changed. The focus is the same. Everybody, like, we wouldn't want to, let his vision down or him down. Like, I mean, we look at everything. We're trying to build the best product, solve the problems for every hunter, and stick to the principles that created the great brand. Like, that's the goal every single day.
Awesome. Talk about the improvements to the backpack. What needed to be changed?
So we really took a new look at the pack when we started, and it was a long time coming. And actually, I don't people won't really realize how long we really basically deconstructed the pack. We redeveloped the hip belt to fit more body types with better hip contact, which is what we found was just making it not carry loads as well as it could for some people. And what it did is it improved the comfort and load carrying capabilities. We have really focused on developing what we feel is the best modular pack system ever built, and it gives you the ability to, whether you're scouting, day hunting, expedition hunting, unsupported backpack hunting, hauling big loads, like that's really been the focus of the pack. And if you haven't tried one of the Pro packs, you're really gonna love it.
How quickly can KUIU move to make new products? I think it means compared to the competition, yeah.
Yeah, I would say quicker than anybody else, depending on, obviously it's got to be tested. Obviously, we push, whether it's Torrey or, for new technologies and the problems that we need to solve. But, I mean, I will say once we get something to where we feel it's ready for consumers, or that we approve, that's been fully tested, we can move very quickly. And the beauty of our business model is we don't have to wait to January 1 to release the new stuff during the year. I mean, if anybody follows our company, we release stuff year-round all the time when it's ready to go.
Any boots for more lower 48 hunting coming out not as stiff and technical as the Rebel case?
As the Rebel K. Well, our Evolution would fall in that class, I would say. And then, as far as the new boots for year, we're just going to have to wait and see. We're always testing new things, and there's always something new coming that's cool, but I can't quite throw it out there.
Just dangling the carrot in front of my nose. Okay. What shows will KUIU be at so we can try gear on? So
this year we will be at, I guess, next week, Dallas Safari Club, and then the Wild Sheep Show, and then regular Safari Club, SCI, and then the Salt Lake Show, Western Conservation, the Harrisburg Show we're doing this year, which is the first time out east, and then Pope and Young, I believe, are the 6 shows that we're doing.
Any new gloves in the works?
Again, you're just going to have to wait and see. We do have some in the works, but nothing that I can tell you about.
Can't even throw this podcast a bone at all. Just nothing.
I will at some point, but we went over plenty, and some of it's have to wait.
Any chance of a much wider brimmed boonie hat, more sun coverage? Okay, I love this question because I would love to see a wider brimmed boonie hat myself.
All right. Well, I would say there's a pretty good chance of that. There's nothing that I know that's in the works, but I will definitely pass that on. I believe we have the technology to solve that problem if there's some demand behind that.
Okay. Can we get more gear lists for specific hunts from Brendan and KUIU?
Yes, that is something I am personally working on as we speak, and there will be some more coming shortly in the spring. A lot of different, very detailed gear lists, and that's one project that I'm personally taking on. And I'm hoping to get that done shortly. So yeah.
And Brendan, just to be clear, those gear lists are one that you've done lots and lots of hunts, and you've made mistakes, and you've figured things out that you want. But you're constantly editing your gear list, are you not?
Always changing, yeah. And some of it depends on where you're going. The more places you go, what's better. For example, there's not one size fits all on a gear list. It's if you're going to Alaska and it's a little later in the year, I would take a 4-season tent. If you're going August 1st, you can get by with a 3-season tent. Depends. I like to make them as specific as possible based on experience that I've personally had. And some of them you're trying to save as much weight as possible. Some of them it's going to be a dogfight. You're going to be in. You need durability. Some of them, it's longer expedition. I try and have one that'll kind of cover everything, and then there's a lot of personal preference in there too. And I always tell people, like, listen, just because that's the way I do it, or I've done it over the hunts that I've done, doesn't mean it's the only way. It's something to take a look at, and as I always say, the gear list we have, like, it may not be totally perfect for you, but I would just say I wouldn't get a gear list from somebody that hasn't done it, so it's going to be a little bit closer to what you're going to need. And a lot of times, done the exact same hunt or something that's very similar.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, would you take financial advice from doesn't have his finances in order? The answer was there's a lot of people that do take financial advice from people that don't have their finances in order, but the smart people don't.
Yeah, you want to tap into people, and look, whether it's me or your guys have done. I mean, I set you up with a couple pretty good gear lists for your hunts. I would think. Yeah,
and I mean that's the thing too. Like getting your gear lists and then taking them, it makes me think about each. Using your gear list as a base, and then thinking, and then even following up and saying, why did you decide this or that? And then you saying, oh, simple, because I was hunting a little bit different than where you're going, or this, So, but it's great to be able to get, cognitively thinking about each piece and why you need it, and having that checklist so that literally when you're out there on an unsupported backpack hunt, you're not missing anything. That's the importance of a list. Because it's so easy to forget one small thing, and all of a sudden, you don't have the right glove, and you've got 10 days or 14 days of, being miserable.
Yeah, and it's just a good thing to consider too. And again, it allows you to make your own decisions on what is most important to you. Some guys, it's worth a little bit more weight. Like for me, it's worth a little bit more weight in my gear list to take, Super Down Pro. If it gets really cold, like I'm a thin guy, and sometimes I get really cold, so it's worth a little bit more to me. There's some things that people take that like is absolutely not worth it for me to carry, and like on the food front as well. My recommendations on food. I was a college wrestler. I don't eat as much as normal people. If I'm 5'10", 175. If you take my gear list, my food list, and you're 6'4", 240, you're gonna die. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
will be
30.
seriously miserable going off of my food. That's just basic math, but it'll get you started as to the types of things that you want to use, and then you got to again, it all boils down to somebody. You're gonna have to figure out what's going to work best for you, and that's why trying stuff out and using it ahead of time is so important. I mean, the best gear list on the planet. I mean, again, saving weight or whatever, but being in shape and having used it before or whatever, that those are important things as well. It just gives you just empowers you to be able to make your own decisions.
The final question here: can you make a double Kutana layered pant for busting Arizona brush?
I have actually heard that quite a bit, and I will certainly pass that on. And I mean, if the question is, can we make it? Of course we can make it. We have the technology to do that. But yeah, I will definitely pass it on. I know you've said it a couple times, and I saw a couple of those questions pop up, and something I will definitely pass on, and probably get in the works for some testing.
Awesome, Brendan. So the show's coming up. You're going to be at the shows. I encourage the listeners to come up, find Brendan, bend his ear, and meet you in person. Are there any shows that you're going to be at personally that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I'm gonna be at all. I won't be at the Harrisburg show, but I will be at. I'm headed for Dallas Wednesday. So Dallas Safari Club, Wild Sheep, SCI, which is in Reno this year, and then Western Conservation will be around. Love to meet anybody and say hey. And if you have any questions, just grab me. I'm bald guy standing in the booth, blonde hair. Used to be blonde. So.
Looks like a college wrestler.
Not so much anymore, but back in the day. But yeah, and then like I said, fall's over now. The hunting season's basically about done. So any more questions, shoot them over. The more specific, the better. Jay and I are going to do this more frequently now that hunting season's over. And apologize that hunting season gets in the way, but that's probably going to be a yearly apology. So we'll just move on.
Yeah. Right on, buddy. Well, I look forward to seeing you at the shows myself. I'm going to be at the Western Hunting and Conservation Expo in Salt Lake City. So for the listeners out there, love to see you as well. And again, Brendan, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing us with us. Congratulations on your Dall sheep hunts, and always love hearing and seeing your adventures. And I look forward to seeing you at the show, and thanks for spending time answering the questions. The KUIU customers, I can speak for myself. It's great getting, right from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and getting some of that insight of someone that, does it and routinely does it and goes on sheep hunts and goes on these, unsupported backpack hunts and has done it. And, that knowledge is great to be able to have access to, so I appreciate that. And, yeah, buddy, God bless you, okay?
Well, same to you. Thanks, Jay. And then, like I said, anybody, you can shoot me an email. BrendanB@KUIU is my email. And then, and any, send them into Jay. The more specific, the better. Always enjoy it. Always learning. And, appreciate the input. So we'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Take care.